When it comes to different applications, when do voice agents come into play?
Like the most obvious right now that I can think of is for like customer service. Yeah, I mean, everyone hates having to call the bank and having to go to that phone tree. What we do is essentially we have a voice AI agent that sounds just like you. It can have dynamic conversation and answer your question.
You might be working with someone in healthcare or a service company. How do you make sure that agent speaks like them?
Just because we're all using ChatGPT doesn't mean we're all having the same conversation. You get to add your personality, you get to add your personal insights, your questions. Most people don't even realize it's an AI. Let's be quite frank.
Do your agents speak a specific language, or is there a specific gender you could pick or accent?
Oh no, yeah, that's all customizable. You can choose either a male or female voice. We have literally hundreds of voices to choose from.
And how did you stumble into Nova? Because it seems you started with a startup and now you're with another startup. How did that happen?
Honestly, at the gym. I recommend anyone out there listening, especially young men, not just go to the gym. Get a very expensive gym membership.
Thanks for tuning in to Privion AI Spotlight. I started this show because AI is changing everything, and most people have no idea how fast. So each week I'm sitting down with real operators, founders, educators, and people inside of the system AI is already touching. No hype, just real conversation about what's actually happening behind the scenes. So if you want to stay ahead of what's coming, tap subscribe. Now let's get into today's conversation. Welcome back everyone to Privion AI Spotlight. I'm excited to have here Hamley Volquez, Head of Sales at Nova Echo AI.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining.
Oh, pleasure to be here, man.
Always great to see another Latino in the industry.
Yes, indeed.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, your journey before we dive into the tech talk.
Oh man, are you sure you want to get right into it? It's a long story.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
Yeah? All right. Well, I'm a Bronx native. I'm from New York originally. I've been in Florida for the last 2.5 years. And it's been an incredible journey, transitioning from, 9-to-5 jobs to being my own entrepreneur down here, I got the opportunity to really expand and see what's out there. Did my undergrad in economics in Harlem, City College, New York. After that, it was a string of jobs. I was a store manager at my last job, earning pretty well at around $100,000 a year for this grocery delivery startup called Getir. And I decided to put all that behind me and start a new life here in Miami. I felt that I wasn't growing and progressing in the manner that I wanted to. So I decided to essentially leave that behind, come down here. I didn't know anyone here in Miami, actually, when I first moved. And I wanted to see what would happen if I were to move down to a new city where I didn't know anyone, where no one knew me, where I didn't have a job, to see what would happen, to see if I would thrive or not.
And how did you stumble into Nova? Because it seems you started with a startup and now you're with another startup. How did that happen?
Honestly, at the gym. I recommend anyone out there listening, especially young men, not just go to the gym. Get a very expensive gym membership. Put yourself and surround yourself with individuals that are where you want to be. So when I first moved here, I heard of this gym called Lifetime.
Yeah.
I knew about it before, but this is the first time
I can't afford it yet, by the way.
yeah. Listen, I couldn't afford it for long either. Because by the time I got here, I was working a job, getting paid $20 an hour, selling metal. Right? I was a sales rep for a metal shop, and I was using the money I was making there, which was I think a little less than $3,000 a month, to pay for a $350 gym membership. It didn't make sense. I told my mom, I told my parents, I told my cousins, my brother, and it was like, you're crazy. But I knew that I needed to be in the proximity of individuals that were making more money, right? You attract what you're around. So I got a gym membership, and I was like, all right, I want to get into tech sales. I knew that that's something I wanted to do. So when I signed up to gym membership, one thing that I really needed out of all amenities is a sauna. Okay? I live for the sauna. It's great. And also, that's where the conversations take place. That's where business happens for whoever's curious to know. Sauna.
Guys, I did not know that.
Listen,
Saunas, I'm not a huge fan, but I'm going to have to try it out.
Yeah, you got to, man, especially at the expensive memberships. I remember the first few weeks I was going, you had these older gentlemen speaking about, their hangars, private planes, these fancy cars, and the fact that they were making 20 grand a day. I didn't know in what. But I was like, I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
Because they're openly discussing these things. And then one day, people were going around asking what people were doing, what they did as a profession. There were some people in luxury real estate. There were others who sold exotic cars. And at one point I got questioned, what I do. I'm like, okay, I'm in sales, something more modest, selling metal at the time. And I briefly mentioned that I wanted to transition to tech sales, right? I was just looking for an avenue. And there happened to be a gentleman that overheard. This gentleman happened to be a 15-year-old kid that just was like, oh, you're in tech sales? And I looked over. I'm like, yeah, I'm not in tech sales, but I want to be.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, great. Like, I'm running this company. Would you be interested in connecting? And I was like, I kind of wrote him off. He's this 15-year-old kid in a sauna that technically I don't even think he can be in.
You thought his dad probably got him the membership.
I was, like, what are you doing here? Like, where's your dad? But I took him up on that offer. We hopped on a call, I believe it was like the next day or two. And he showed me the platform he was working on, which happened to be the early version of Nova Echo AI.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And we had a conversation when he showed me, and I heard a demo. It was super rough at that time. I'm talking 2023, end of 2023, 2024. Super rough. But I saw the potential. I wanted to get into tech sales. And I'm like, okay, I might have found my golden ticket. Just didn't expect it to be in a 15-year-old package.
Yeah, right.
So I was like, okay, no, this is actually pretty great. Let's have a second call and talk further about this. And immediately on that second call, I signed a contract with him to be his first sales rep. So
and that was 2023.
That was December 2023 we met, and I signed it in January of 2024.
Nice. So for those who don't know about Nova, can you tell us a little bit about it?
So Nova Echo AI is a conversational voice AI platform. Essentially, we build out voice AI agents for both outbound and inbound applications. So that means it can make calls and it can take calls, and it automates 90% of processes for businesses.
When it comes to different applications, right? So I'm thinking about a company that has many things that they have to do. When do voice agents come into play?
There's so many use cases. Like the most obvious right now that I can think of is for like customer service, right? Let's say, everyone hates having to call the bank and having to go to that phone tree. And it takes maybe about 5 minutes just to get to the department that you want. And then you have to wait on hold for them to be available. What we do is essentially we have a voice AI agent that sounds just like you. It can have dynamic conversation and answer your questions. If at any point you want to speak to a human because it's something personal or you need to verify any details, there's an option to do just that. So you get the best of both worlds.
When it comes to training the agent, because every company has different procedures, things that they need to learn, how do you guys do that?
So it's not as difficult as one would think. Now, there's different components to the voice AI, right? If we're talking just the conversation over the phone, it is simple text prompting. So you engineer by putting it into text prompt, you give it a script, you connect it to a knowledge base, and then boom, you have something that's functional that can speak over the phone and handle your inquiries for you. Now, if you want to include that in a full service where it's you want to contact leads that reach out to you, right? I know speed to lead is a very big use case that most people use it for. So if someone comes into your ads or someone reaches out to you through social media, Instagram, TikTok, you don't want to miss out on the opportunity. You want it to contact the individual right away. Sometimes you don't have the human or the manpower to do so. So you can set up the AI to then, as soon as the lead comes in, it can target them. And then after that, you'd have the AI either book an appointment for you automatically, live transfer for you, or any kind of custom outcome so that you don't have to be the one managing the phones. And then you manage anything after that. So that there is what takes a little more strategic planning and setup. So it's separate from the prompting, but it's still part of the full system.
Okay, so it sounds like you have, outside of the voice agents, you also do prep work and when it comes to people coming in as well, because you spoke about a lead, right?
Yeah.
So when you get the lead, how do you even know that's a lead, and how does the AI agent know that as well? And then how does it take the next step to then that person calls in, or can you walk me through that? Can you clarify that a little bit for me?
Well, first, let's define what a lead is in this context, right? A lead would be an individual or business that's interested in your product or service, and they've expressly shown through either filling out a form on wherever you're hosting that video or that ad, and they're saying, hey, like, I'm interested in your product. So that is a lead. So we set up the system so that you can effectively nurture and communicate with that lead without having to be manually present 100% of the time. Because if you're running things at scale, traditionally, it would take, if you want to grow by 2x, you likely had to increase manpower by 2x. You had to increase the people on your team. At that point, it becomes costly and the rate of return isn't as high. Now you have something that could theoretically, take 1,000 calls all at once and still be able to give you the same results, but at a fraction of the cost.
What's one of the biggest misconceptions that business owners have when it comes to applying these agents and overall?
I think the biggest misconception is that, and I think this goes across the entire industry of AI, not just voice, is that they believe naively that AI is going to solve every business problem. And what they fail to realize is that AI is a tool. And just like a hammer, a hammer is only useful in its proper context and when it's in use. If not, it's just an item that's sitting on the table. It's not doing anything for you. So first and foremost, mastering the use of the skill also determines the output that you're going to get from it. A hammer is only as good as its wielder. So if you're not good at hammering nails, doesn't matter how strong or how hard the nail is, you're going to get mediocre results. But you give it to a carpenter, right? A master at his craft. They'll be able to make magic with that hammer that you probably you wouldn't even known the different amount of ways you can use a hammer. Some people think you can only use it to smash, but it has the end where you can remove nails. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other use cases for a hammer. And the same runs true with AI, in my opinion.
Sounds like a very resourceful tool. I'm thinking about those who typically do that work. You know, their job is customer service. My job is to come in and get paid and answer phones. What do you say to the people that they feel like this is replacing them?
Okay, so there's also, I think, some misconception there as well. And it kind of goes into what I was talking about with it being a tool. Now, the way that we position the voice AI is more as an augment to their business. It's supplementary to what they're already doing, and it allows them to scale even further. So if anything, it's empowering their employees more than it is taking a job away. Because again, it doesn't work on its own. It needs to be managed. You need to have someone overseeing the operations. Because there's just things that it can't do alone just yet. Who knows in the future or even the near future if things shift. But as of right now, if you have 3 employees that are working as customer service reps for your business, and you let them know, and of course, if they're working customer service, they're likely not just doing that for you. They probably wear multiple hats. They're doing different things. They have to do in-office jobs that requires them to not be on the phone or not be available at times. So you can set up an entire system so that those 3 can now have more time to focus on the tasks that matter, remove them from the phone conversations that they don't need to be in, because most people call and it's usually the same questions over and over again, right? Because it's going to be a similar clientele that's calling in. So you now have the ability to give them more purpose in their job. If someone does call in, it's probably going to be for something more urgent that needs them in that way. And that also drives them to be more productive at work because it gives them more purpose in the job that they're doing.
Productivity is huge. And I think that's the value of having a voice agent, because there's a lot of high value work that needs to be done. You mentioned these people are answering repetitive questions, that something can pretty much do that for them, right? When you're hunting and finding different opportunities, who is that you go after? It wouldn't be the customer service reps, right? It would probably be someone higher up. And talk to me about the conversations that you initially have with them as you're trying to implement your solution.
You know, you'd be surprised. We actually went the angle once, targeting inbound customer service reps. And we did a door knocking campaign. And surprisingly, we got some mixed results, but we ended up closing a few clients, positioning it as, you need a raise. So we walked around, we had flyers specifically set for the customer service of the front desk people, those who greet you at the front. And we were like, you are being overworked and underpaid. So what if you were able to showcase to your boss that you're able to increase the output of your job by automating a piece that doesn't necessarily need you in the traditional sense anymore? And now you can focus instead on acquiring the new clients, on creating new patient portals. And then, of course, the biggest, I think, piece of all, if you're in person and you work on the front desk, is tending to the people that walk in, right? You're customer facing. It would suck for the experience of the person that walks in if they come in and they have to wait to be greeted because you're on the phone, and the phone continues to ring. It continues to ring, So now you have an opportunity to do your job well, acquire more clients for the business. When it comes to the satisfaction, customer reviews are very important for businesses, right? For sure. How they perceive you is very important. So if you know that you now have staff that is essentially 90% dedicated on focusing on the clients that walk in so that they have a great experience. Those are the same individuals that are going to tell someone else, like, hey, I got my nails done at this place and they were so lovely. It just seemed like they gave me all their attention. And that's not something that every location can say. And if they do, it's likely that they have a large overhead because they have a lot of staff working, and that's not good for business. So now you found a nice middle ground.
How does Nova match the branding of the company? There's different industries, right? You might be working with someone in healthcare or a service company. How do you make sure that agent speaks like them?
So everything is highly customizable, right? I'm sure you and many of the viewers have used ChatGPT to some degree.
For sure.
Just because we're all using ChatGPT doesn't mean we're all having the same conversation. And you get to add your personality, you get to add your personal insights, your questions. Some people who go the extra mile and go to the, I'm not sure, help me out here. It's kind of like the settings where they can adjust the actual knowledge base of the agent so that it can give them specific outcomes when they ask it a question or a prompt. You essentially do the same with Nova Echo. You go in, everything's preset, so it sounds realistic, sounds human, the latency is great, but it still needs the information to have the conversation. Now, what's great is that within Nova Echo, which is fairly new, I don't think it's in many other places, it comes with preset guardrails. Of course, you can make some adjustments, but essentially it just means that it won't allow the conversation to go off the walls, and it can stay centered and focused on whatever its purpose or goal is. So if that agent's the AI employee's agent, right? If its goal is to book an appointment and the industry is insurance, then it'll ask the questions pertaining to that goal. If someone tries to beat around the bush, it may answer it if it's relevant in the context, but if it's not, it'll quickly gear them right back into the conversation so that there's no wasted time, no wasted movement. Guardrails
are important to make sure you're setting focus, not only focus, but even protecting, data. Because if an agent represents a company, you don't want it to be saying something that has nothing to do with the company. So I think that's something that's really important to establish from the get-go and have that customer voice within the agent. After hours, companies run 8 to 5. Tell me a story where an agent became of use after hours.
I mean, just think about it. We work with a ton of different clients across various industries. But let's say, I guess a very typical example would be, let's use a restaurant. Let's say that restaurant is open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And you happen to call after hours because you want to set a reservation up for your mother whose birthday is in 3 days. Of course, traditionally you have to wait for them to open in order for you to book in a reservation, or you can go online, which honestly is also pretty useful. But sometimes you can't get all the information online, right? You're like stuck with rigid options. It's either, what time and what this, but you don't know whether or not they offer gluten-free items or they're vegan friendly. If there's anything else going on that's particular to that one location. With a voice agent setup, it's on 24/7. It doesn't need to be motivated, doesn't need to be paid. It is just on, and it works as soon as someone calls in. So now, if someone's interested in booking a reservation and it's 10 o'clock at night, they're able to. And they're also able to get confirmation if that slot's available. Because the AI agent is connected to the system, their backend POS or whatever they're using, their management software, to scan to see what slots are available, right? For example, OpenTable. It's able to scan to see if, okay, that slot from 6:15 to 7 o'clock is open, we can reserve your party as 5 7, 10 for this date. And all this happened after hours. And on the business perspective, it didn't cost them much. They didn't have to have a call center working the phones after hours in case someone called, all at a fraction of the cost.
How do you calculate ROI?
It depends. It highly depends on the business and what you're running. If you have multiple locations and you need multiple agents, what we provide for you is we have standard subscriptions. There's 3 main packages, and within each there's different tiers, which essentially gives you a certain amount of credits. And credits is what allows you to have the conversations. So it's pretty reasonable, but they're all at about a 90% reduction in what you would pay annually for just one employee, getting paid $42,000 a year.
So just a fraction of a price.
Literally a tenth at most. And then of course, if you want to scale it, that ROI increases as long as you're seeing the same influx of traffic and you're getting the same conversions. It becomes the no-brainer option.
Okay. Give me an example of human intervention. Like, when is that necessary? When a voice agent first takes the call and maybe something needs to be, taken, something like, let's say more custom or something more technical. How does that go into play?
Well, let's be serious. Let's be honest here. Most people right now, well, actually, I wouldn't say most, but a good portion still aren't open to the idea of having an AI take over different aspects of their life, right? The change is too great. You don't want to upset them just because they're not ready to embrace the technology. So a lot of the times we have fail-safe. We put keywords in, so if people show that they're irate, they're bothered by the AI. It's like, hey, instead of trying to push the AI through, let's just get this person to
000. Speak to a rep.
Exactly. You want to just talk to a human and get it over with. We're not gonna, at least for now, we're gonna give you the opportunity to speak to somebody. Because at the end of the day, as a business, we want to service you. And if it takes you speaking to a human rep, then sure. But there are a lot of people who are open to speaking. Most people don't even realize it's an AI. Let's be quite frank. It's that good just right now, and this is the worst that it'll ever be. But even now, it's good to the point where most people don't recognize. And if people do, and they want this an emergency going on, and they need to speak to someone ASAP, there's no questions. Like, hey, we'll transfer you over to somebody in whatever department is respective to that problem.
Do your agents speak a specific language, or is there a specific gender you could pick, or accent? How do you make those selections? Or
that's all customizable. You can choose either a male or female voice. We have literally hundreds of voices to choose from. And then when it comes to the language, we have currently about 37 unique languages you can choose. And there's a multilingual option that allows it to speak, I think it's anywhere from 11 to 12 unique languages, all in one setting. So if it picks up, it says, hi, how are you? And you speak Spanish, it'll immediately begin speaking to you in Spanish with a native accent. It's actually pretty cool.
Nice. So if I speak Spanglish, she'll speak Spanglish?
That much, we got to do some testing to see if it works. But it'll probably go back and forth. I don't know how effective it'll be, but surely it can.
For the business owners who are considering voice agents, what do you challenge them with? What kind of things they should be thinking about even before implementing voice agents?
They need to have a good understanding of their business model and whether or not it fits. A lot of times, as I mentioned earlier, people see AI a lot, not everyone. People see AI as an be-all, end-all solution. Like, oh, okay, I have AI and now it's gonna do everything for me. And again, no, it's not quite how it works. So what I would recommend is that they do the proper R&D to make sure that this particular solution helps them solve a pain point within their business that they just can't seem to find a solution for traditionally, or if it's just bleeding too much money, right? You don't want to grow at a 2x level, right? If you can exponentially grow at 10x. But that only works if you apply it in the right context and conditions. If not, it'll be wasted capital.
Nice. For those who want to learn more, and for the viewers who are listening on the podcast, how is it that they can find you or find the company itself?
Oh, easy. On Instagram, the Hamley Volquez. Of course, our website, noveco.ai. And we're on all socials under the same handles.
Awesome. Well, you guys heard it. You can see this is a really interesting show when it comes to voice agents itself. It's something very modern. It's something that we challenge you guys to take a look at. So Hamley, thank you so much for joining.
Hey,
I truly
appreciate you, man. Likewise.
By the way, another Dominican brother. So thank you all so much for joining. We'll see you all on the next one. Thanks for watching today's episode. If you're interested in how AI can be used in your business or at work, I'd love to help you understand what that really looks like. I made a free tool called the AI Audit Assistant. It asks you a few simple questions and shows you exactly where your business is leaking time or money and where automation can help. It's simple, it's fast, and completely free. Just click the link below and enter your name and email, and I'll send your audit agent straight to your inbox. And if you got value from this conversation, subscribing really helps this channel grow. So thanks again, and I'll see you in the next episode.